Hello, happy 4th of July. I took part in morning festivities of a 4th of July birthday around here. Not me, but a close friend. We're going to go to the explosives tonight, celebrate the explosion of democracy. Have a little time in the middle. I thought I'd make a video. Now, I have gone to great lengths to describe my belief in the self, the will, and the existence of all things cognitive. And I think I've done that sufficiently to venture on closer towards the edge of my map of the territories of knowledge. And you see, I wouldn't want to dive right into my idea of self right away, because you might all have thought that I was myself more nihilistic. You might have thought that I was saying that self is an illusion, because the idea of self we have is like an illusion. It's a very bad idea of self. For example, self is not atomic. I don't believe self is atomic. It's not an atomic thing. We have this traditional philosophical goal of or perspective of looking at the world as filled with substance, qualities adheres to substances. But now we know it's more complicated than that. You know, if you're looking at a blue car, it's not so much that the quality blue adheres in the car, but that the relationship between the light, the surface of the car, and your retina, and your brain, creates a recognition of a relationship between all those things, which is blue. So the qualities are qualities. Really, all qualities are more like emergent behavior than they are these immutable qualities we once thought. And but thinking that way made us look for the substance of soul. See, my assertion that the soul exists made people think that, well, we have to look for the substance of it, because they believed if something existed, you had to look for the substance of it. But now we know when we say that something exists, we mean that it's a behaving system. Why? Because we get behavior through our perceptions of it, and all the things that we label are actually systems. We know that. They're systems. They break down to many, many different parts behaving in a system together. We have confirmed that. It's an ancient philosophical query. So self is not atomic. You could split your sense of self. If we split your brain into two halves and put them in their own body, if we could do the wiring, you'd have two personalities instantly there. Half a brain is sufficient. And it's even more arbitrary than that. The thing is, there is no substance of the brain, of the self, except for as a characteristic of the substance of the brain. And so it's analogous to on your computer. If you had, the computer metaphor doesn't always work, but it works pretty well in this case. Your sense of self is like a system monitor on your computer. It's taking some key statistics, memory, usage, dropped packets, CPU usage, idle time on the CPU. And it takes these numbers and it takes them as a characterization of its health. For example, it might combine them into a weighted, through a weighted equation to calculate its overall health, and things like this. You can see how that's arbitrary, right? Because at some point I can think, oh wait, there's a number, an important number I can use for this system monitor that had never occurred to me before. I'll add it. You just add it. Suddenly it's in your sense of self. Oh, the heart rates per minute were not a part of your sense of self? Well, now you realize, hey, I can tell my overall health and state of mind by my heartbeats per minute. I'll pay attention to that. And suddenly that is your sense of self. Similarly, you can take data structures that you associate with things in the outside world and associate your sense of identity with that, your sense of self. With your family, for example, you can take cues from their behavior as cues to what your behavior should be like. This is all involved with adopting a broad sense of self. And you can do that, and you see how people do put their sense of self all over, sometimes even in irrational places. And they have this total freedom because the sense of self is arbitrary. It's not attached to a substance. It's just an idea about human behavior. Okay, so you could call it attached to human behavior, except for the human behavior is a material thing in the real world, in the land of the unknown. Whereas our sense of self is a known construct. It's whatever we're using to think of ourselves as ourselves. In that sense, it's totally arbitrary. And it's nothing like what most people are looking for when they're trying to find a definition of self. Cheers.